Welcome to this information session by Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity. My name is Megan McDonough. I'm the Executive Director at Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity. And I'm here with two volunteers from our Family Selection Committee, Marianne and Dell.
Hi.
Hi. Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity builds homes in Hampshire and Franklin counties for people with low incomes. We keep our costs low by building simple homes using as much volunteer labor and donated materials as possible. But it still costs money to build the homes. We sell the homes to families who are in need of housing with an affordable mortgage. The main topic of today's information session is to explain how to apply to purchase a Habitat home. We will start by spending a few minutes describing our current project, but then we need to get into the information on applying. This is not a live session, so we're not going to answer any questions at the end, but this is a pre-recorded session in March 2022. So over to you, Marianne.
Thank you, Megan. I'm going to talk a little bit about the project itself. Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity is going to be building a 3-bedroom home. It's a single-family home on South Deerfield Road, also known as 116 in Conway. And the home will be built in a beautiful rural area of Western Massachusetts. But given that there's minimal access to public transportation, so a working vehicle is needed if you're going to be living there. The home site is about a 20-minute drive to Greenfield and a 30-minute drive to Northampton. It's only about a half a mile away from the public elementary school in Conway. But walking would be difficult because 116 is a very busy road. The modest home will have 2 stories, be approximately 1,300 square feet. The home will be energy efficient and built to Energy Star standards. The house will be all electric and heated with an air source heat pump. All 3 bedrooms will be on the 2nd floor. A half bath will be available on the 1st floor and a full bath will be on the 2nd floor. Outdoor storage in an attached shed will be provided. The home will be built on a slab, so there will be no basement storage. There will be no basement. There will also be no attic storage since the attic will be reserved for insulation. As a homeowner, you will be responsible for driveway maintenance and snow removal on the steep driveway. The home will have a well and septic system and is not connected to town water or sewer. This is a wonderful opportunity for someone who will enjoy the benefits of rural living in an affordable house. The building team at Habitat makes all the construction decisions. We don't build custom homes, but we will make reasonable accommodations for someone with a disability. The sale price of the home will not exceed $200,000. The final sales price and mortgage term for the home will be set to ensure that your monthly housing costs at closing do not exceed 30% of your income at the time you buy the house. The house will be permanently restricted, so you can't sell it for a bunch more than you bought it for, but you do gain equity by making mortgage payments. So what will it cost for you to be a homeowner at Habitat? If you become a homeowner, your monthly housing payments will include mortgage principal and interest, real estate taxes, homeowner's insurance. That will all be combined in one payment each month. However, the average Habitat monthly payment is between $700 and $1,200 per month to cover those costs. Your mortgage payment will be fixed, but taxes, insurance can and probably will go up over time. But the monthly payment does not include the cost of water bills, snow removal, or home repairs. So, and state housing subsidies cannot typically be used towards a habitat mortgage, such as Section 8 rental vouchers. So if you have rental assistance, please talk with the agency providing the voucher to see if they have any programs for using this towards a mortgage payment. And now Dell's going to tell you about selection criteria.
Okay, thanks, Marianne. Habitat for Humanity will look at 3 categories when reviewing applicants and making a final selection of their partner families. The first is housing need. Second is the income and ability to repay. And third is willingness to partner. So what does housing need mean? Housing need might mean inadequate housing, meaning that your current housing has structural issues, problems with water, electrical, sewer, and/or heating systems. It could also mean unsafe or unhealthy living conditions, inadequate space for the number and sex of the members of your family, or that your current housing costs are excessive. That means more than 35% in relation to your income, or that you can't afford. We also have an asset limit. If you have assets over $75,000, you are not eligible. You must be a first-time home buyer. The definition for this is a lot broader than you think. Anyone who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years is considered a first-time home buyer, as are displaced homemakers. You can ask for clarification after the information session if you are worried about being disqualified because of this requirement. Income and ability to repay. Repayment, you are buying a home from Habitat, so you must show an ability to repay a mortgage. We will be asking you to apply for a mortgage from a bank partner after being accepted by Habitat into the program. They will need similar information to show your ability to repay. Ability to repay may be demonstrated in several ways. 1, do you make more than the minimum income required for a Habitat house? Do you have a history of making payments on time for rent and other obligations? This payment history will be seen on the required documents you will provide Habitat when you submit your application. We will go over the required documents in a few minutes. These documents and your application will be reviewed by the Habitat Selection Committee and the bank to get your mortgage from. Habitat set income guidelines based on HUD median income, depending on family size. The minimum income for this project is $30,000 a year. The maximum income varies with family size. For a family of 4, the maximum income is $50,475. Income guidelines are on the flyer and in the application packet. Credit reports will also be pulled by Habitat for use in the selection process. Credit score is not the only thing taken into consideration when we are reviewing your ability to pay. If you have delinquencies or judgments on your credit report, it is okay. The committee is looking to see that you have worked with your creditors to pay back any judgments, or that you have brought any previously delinquent accounts back to a current status. You cannot have any current judgments or liens, but something in the past is okay. In general, you must wait 2 years after declaring bankruptcy and show good credit in the time since the bankruptcy was discharged. This can be waived if the bankruptcy was caused by extraordinary circumstances like death, natural disasters, etc. We are also looking to make sure that you don't have so many debts that it would affect your ability to repay your mortgage. If you are unsure about your credit, please consider seeing a HUD-approved housing counselor at the Valley CDC, Wayfinders, or Franklin County HRA. This counseling should be free. A criminal background check and sex offender registry check will also be done. Having a criminal record does not automatically disqualify you from selection. However, Habitat reserves the right to disqualify someone for a relevant offense. If selected, you will be expected to make a down payment of $700, which will be paid to Habitat in 7 monthly installments of $100. The first installment would be due the month after you have agreed to partner with Habitat or when construction begins, whichever is later. In addition to the $700 down payment, you will need to save up during construction to pay for your first year of homeowner's insurance before we sell you the house. This cost will vary depending on who you select for insurance, but could be anywhere from $600 to $1,000. You have to plan to keep saving $100 a month after your down payment is complete. You may also choose to spend some money for appliances or other specific appliances allowed or other specific allowed upgrades. Habitat will pay reasonable closing costs for your mortgage. Willingness to partner, what does that mean? If you are selected, you and your family become a partner with Habitat in building your home, and you will be asked to complete 250 hours of sweat equity per homeowner. What is sweat equity? Each adult that will be living in the house must complete 250 hours of sweat equity, up to a maximum of 500 hours. A vast majority of this sweat equity is actually you building your home with volunteers and contractors. If you are selected to partner with Habitat, you should expect that you will spend 1 or 2 days a week until your home is completed. Work days are typically 9 to 4 p.m. or 12 to 4 on Sundays. You need to average about 5 hours per week to complete your 250 hours before the building is done. There will be some weeks when on-site construction is not available because subcontractors are on site, like electricians or plumbers. So you need to plan ahead to do more than 5 hours per week some weeks. If you are disabled, we will work with you to modify sweat equity requirements to match your abilities. Future homeowners must complete 16 hours of volunteer work with Habitat, which counts toward your sweat equity within the first 2 months of being selected. These 16 hours would be working on your future home or other Habitat projects. A first-time homebuyers class must be completed, and these hours also count for your sweat equity. Once you agree to partner with Habitat, you will be assigned a mentor. This mentor will work with you to plan your sweat equity hours and prep your home. You would also work with the mentor to select certain fixtures in the home, as well as any upgrades. This mentor will be your main point of contact for the 9 months to 18 months it takes to build your house. And also the first year after you are in your home. So you're not alone, you will have a mentor. If selected, you will need to complete an agreement that you are willing to partner with Habitat by completing these requirements. I think that's it for my part. Megan?
We gave you a long section there, Del. Thank you for
Yeah, I
going
know.
over that. The next thing we want to do is to open up the application and review the application form itself. The application and all required documents must be received by Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity by Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. Applications mailed to our PO box must be postmarked by or on the 11th and to be accepted. So let me share the application. So I think that now you're seeing the application, is that correct?
We're seeing the home.
This is the home, affordable home ownership.
Great. You're still seeing it?
We're still seeing the
Yes.
home.
Great, okay. Well, this is what the first page of the application packet looks like. So you might find it, if you're looking at a paper application, this will be in black and white, but if you're looking on a computer, it'll be this nice colorful version of the application. We're not guaranteeing the siding will be blue. That'll be one of those construction decisions to make later. But the architects love this color to show what the house might look like. The second page, it goes over a little bit of the highlights about the information, about the application and the project, including the income guidelines, the minimum income of $30,000 per year, and the maximum income, which varies by family size that Dell mentioned.
We still are seeing the house.
Okay, hold on one sec. Why don't I share that again so that we can. All right, here we are. Are you now seeing the letter in the application packet?
Yes.
Great, sorry about that. So the first page of the application packet looks like this. And then we have the second page with the income guidelines. And the third page here is a letter to you as the prospective applicant. This letter will go over the different steps in the process from applying, submitting your application, the review process, a review of the requirements, how we do a home visit, lottery, and then construct your home and you purchase your home. These are many of the things we're discussing here today in the information session, but if you forget, you can refer back to this letter. This is the first page of the application itself, and you'll see that the application deadline is right at the top, along with our mailing address to the PO box if you'd like to mail your application, the street address for dropping it off in person, our website, and the phone number and email address to ask questions. The application form has two columns, one for the applicant and one for the co-applicant. Not all people will have a co-applicant. A co-applicant may be a spouse, it could be your sister, it could be your mother, it could be whatever adult you would like to own and purchase this house from Habitat with. If you do not have a co-applicant, that's totally fine. You just fill out the applicant section and then write none or NA over here in the co-applicant. Throughout the application, it's better to write not applicable or NA or none on fields rather than leave them blank. We want to make sure you didn't just forget to fill out the application, but that there's a certain section that doesn't apply to you. Then we're asking for some basic contact information, your social security number, your information about any dependents, if you have children or adult dependents. Where do you live now? Where can we mail you letters? And if you've lived at your current address less than 2 years, we want your previous address as well. Section 2 says for office use only. This is just for us to keep track of the dates of submitting your application. You could skip section 2 and go right on to section 3. This is where you need to answer a question that you're willing to do sweat equity. And both you, the applicant, and if there's a co-applicant, need to check the box. The section 4 is asking about your present housing conditions, where you live now, not the house in Conway you're applying to purchase, but tell us a little bit about where you live right now. What rent do you pay? We're not going to reach out to your landlord without your permission. But if you can provide that information here, that would be great. Section 5 asks if you own any property. Most of the time, our applicants are first-time home buyers and do not own any land or other property. But if you do, we want to know about it. So we ask that you share information of if you own any land or other houses, that you provide that information here in section 5. Section 6 is asking about employment information. If you have a job where you earn wages, then tell us about your employer, how much you make each month gross before taxes. If you have a co-applicant who's working, you want to also list their information here. And if that's a brand new job, you've been there less than 1 year, we want you to also tell us about your previous employer. People often have income that comes from many sources, not just wages. So this chart is for you to fill out so that you put your total monthly income here for the applicant from all sources. So the wages would be the same as up here, but maybe you receive temporary aid for needy families, alimony, child support, Social Security, or some other type of income that you would like to disclose. We need income information for all adults in the household, the applicant, the co-applicant, and if there's any other adults in the household, you also need to list their income here. Applicant and co-applicant income will be used to make sure you have the ability to repay an affordable mortgage, and information from all adults in the household will be used to determine your housing need to make sure you're under the maximum income. And since you might have listed others in the household, in addition to the applicant and co-applicant, we like you to list who it is in the household that is earning the income. Section 8 asks you to tell us a little bit about where you're going to come up with the source of down payment and closing costs. And working with Habitat, that's a very reasonable amount, $700 of down payment. And the only closing cost you're responsible for is paying for a year's worth of homeowners insurance. You also need to tell us in section 9 about your assets. So that would be any bank accounts that you have, checking, saving, retirement. You need to list all of those assets here. That might also be something that you have collectibles that are worth, a significant amount of money, or something else that you have saving as an investment, you'd list here as assets. So in addition to your assets, your bank accounts and other things of value that you own, you need to tell us in section 10 about your debt. Who do you owe money to? Do you have a monthly bill that you have to pay on your car or on a boat or other rent-to-own furniture or appliances or TV? Do you pay alimony or child support? If you have a credit card, what is your minimum monthly payment due? So see how it asks for monthly payment. For credit card, you want to put whatever the minimum is on that revolving credit. If you have a payment plan for medical debt or other debts, you want to also list the monthly payments here. And we ask this both about the applicant and the co-applicant. The next section about monthly expenses is asking about your current monthly expenses. So including rent and utilities, insurance. This is to get us some information about what you're paying now. Section 11, declarations, is a series of yes or no questions that both the applicant and co-applicant need to answer. And they're simple yes or no's. And if you answered yes to any questions of A through H, the first, or no to question I, then you need to just provide a little explanation here so that we can determine if it's going to be a barrier to your application or not. Just answering yes or no does not tell the whole story, and that's why we need your explanation here. Section 12 is where you agree to that we can review this information, run a credit check, that check the sex offender registry. You're giving us permission to do this background check and review your application. So if you can sign here, and if you have a co-applicant, they need to sign as well. We also ask you to sign that you understand you have a right to receive a copy of appraisal. That's a legal requirement of anyone who does mortgages. And then section 14 is about demographic information. If you're willing to fill this out, it helps to make sure that we can track who we serve and make sure that we're serving a diverse audience. It's not part of your eligibility for your application. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act notice, this is another disclosure so that you understand about your rights under the Federal Equal Credit Opportunity Act. So please read through this and then have the applicant and co-applicant, if there is one, sign and date. And then this is a very important part of the application. This is your checklist that you of additional documents that you need to submit with your application. Just signing the application does not complete it. You also need to provide supporting documentation, like your 3 most recent signed federal tax returns, your copy of your 5 most recent consecutive pay stubs, written proof of any other sources of income, if you have child support or Social Security. If you receive, and if you receive child support or alimony, then you also have to provide a copy of your separation agreement or divorce decree, your last 3 bank statements, and documentation of significant assets over $1,000 in value. Things like cars, land, businesses, investment accounts. If you have any questions about what you need to submit, feel free to reach out, email apply@pdhabitat.org or call us at 413-517-8326. I'm happy to try and help troubleshoot. But then you just need to sign and date that you are submitting truthfully the information. At this page of the application packet goes over how you can submit your application, including mailing it to our PO box, as long as it's postmarked by the deadline or on the deadline. That means you went to the post office and handed it to them, and they put a little stamp on it. Or you can drop off your paper application at our office. This is a picture of the locked mailbox on our office door. So you can submit through this slot, probably not a really thick packet. You might need to break it into 2 pieces if you have too much paper, but you can submit at any time to our office in this locked mailbox. We also have an option to complete your application digitally using DocuSign. There's a link on our website to the DocuSign application. What we don't want you to do is email us your application with your account numbers or any Social Security numbers or personal information unless you request an encrypted email. I have the ability using a software called Virtru to send you an encrypted email that you could reply to with your confidential information. The application deadline, just going to say it one more time, Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. The next pages in the application packet have the income guidelines again, and then a description of the property that we reviewed earlier. All right, Marianne, do you want to talk a little bit more about the application process?
Sure. All right.
Sorry, Marianne. I think we muted you, babe. You're gonna have to unmute.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
So restart.
All right, the application process. As you heard, what the application involves, once Habitat has received your application, then the Family Selection Committee reviewers will look over and see that your application is complete and will review your credit history. And then after this initial review, the applicants that do not meet the habitat selection criteria, which Megan just went over, will receive a letter explaining why you have not been selected to go further in the process. Those who do meet the habitat selection criteria will also receive a letter and that requests additional information if necessary. But note, it's very important that if asked for additional information, that you get the information to Habitat quickly, because if you don't meet the deadlines for getting that information to Habitat, it could disqualify you. And you'd hate to get that far along and then be disqualified. Next, we will conduct a virtual home visit. So after any additional information is gathered and reviewed, home visits are scheduled. And 2 members of the selection committee will make an appointment with you to meet you and your family. And this is all done through Zoom. These meetings are typically an hour long. And during that meeting, we may have some additional questions for you about your income or expenses. And all members of your family who live in the home, if you're selected, you should all be at this meeting to meet with the selection committee members. But this is also a great opportunity for you to ask questions of Habitat. So during that visit, we will review the information, a lot of which you've heard here, but now it's going to be on a one-on-one, and it'll be an easy way for you to ask questions of us. So after the home visits are completed, then what we'll do, the selection committee will confirm which applicants have been determined eligible according to all the selection criteria, and sends its recommendations of all the eligible applicants to the Habitat Board of Directors for approval. And then the Board of Directors confirms who will go into the lottery. And then a lottery is conducted. And then once the lottery results are in, then the Habitat Executive Director will contact the family and ask if they would like to partner with Habitat. And if the family says yes, we have our partner family, and now the real work begins. And now we'll finish up here.
Actually, Megan went over the entire how to submit your documents when she was going over the application review. I don't know if you want me to go over the same material. Megan?
Well, that's a good point. I guess I wasn't supposed to do that, huh?
No, it was in the attachment in the application section by section review.
Well, whoever watches this recording can tell that we're real people doing this live right now. But, so you can either submit your paper application by postal mail, drop off your application, or submit it digitally. But that application deadline of Wednesday, May 11th, 2022 is critical. Only eligible applicants will get in the lottery, but if you don't apply, then you will never know if you're eligible. So please apply if you think you meet the criteria. We'd be happy to review your application.
Megan, can I just add to that? That what's really critical is that the application get in by May 11th. If you don't have all the documentation completed, don't hold up your application. Get everything in that you can by May 11th, and then the rest of it, you're going to work to get to Habitat very quickly. But don't wait until you have all the paperwork, because if you miss the deadline, it doesn't matter what paperwork you have.
That's a really good reminder, Marianne, because if you just get the application filled out and signed to us and then have to get us the supporting documents later, we'll send you some follow-up requests for that. But you have to get the signed application to us by the deadline to be considered. Any other last words of wisdom from either of you?
That's it.
Good luck.
Good luck. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all.